Hey guys, it's Sam and this is Top 5 Wednesday. If you are new to Top 5 Wednesday, I will leave a link to the Goodreads group down below for topics and such. This month is Top 5 Wednesday Rewind, so we are picking a different topic every week. Every individual person can pick a different topic every week from the backlog, the archive of almost 4 or 5 years of Top 5 Wednesday topics, and doing them if they haven't done them already, or redoing them if a lot of time has passed. So this week I am doing underrated books. Now I did this topic just about a year ago, so it isn't that old, but there are a lot more underrated reads that I wanted to talk about. I actually just set up my shelves, and as I was putting some books on the shelf, I was thinking about how some of them are underrated. So I will link my original video down below because those are still relevant and those are still definitely underrated reads. And I'm going to go through the rest of the books that I feel like are underrated here on BookTube. Again, if a book is even mentioned on BookTube, is it really underrated? You know, because like I feel like there's some books that are underrated in the general book world, but that are talked about a lot on BookTube. So it's kind of hard to gauge like what exactly, but these are books that I feel like aren't talked about a ton or enough or given enough credit here on BookTube. And none of these will probably surprise you. They're probably books that I talk about a lot. And these are in no particular order, and I'll probably go over 5 because I just want to have a definitive video on this topic. The first book is The Falconer by Elizabeth May. This is like a Scottish steampunk Buffy with Fae, and it's so much fun. I recently read this book in the last couple of months and really enjoyed it, and I feel like not a lot of people give this credit. It is starting to kind of like gain traction. The series is now finished, so you can go out and read all of them. I've only read this first book because I'm waiting for the last book to come out on paperback before I read the second book, because this book ended at a cliffhanger. So I don't want to read the next one because I'm pretty sure that one's going to end in a cliffhanger until I know the very last one. But I've heard amazing things from people that have read it. A lot of people compare this a little bit to like the ACOTAR trilogy. I know it's going to be continuing, but like the ACOTAR trilogy and how they feel like this one was more satisfying. So overall, really feel like this should be more hype than it is. I love this main character, I love the story, and I loved everything about it. It was so much fun. Then we have Blood Red Road by Moira Young. This is a book I talked about a lot when I first started BookTube because it's a book I read shortly after starting my channel. This is the first book in a trilogy. I haven't read the rest of the series because I hear the rest of the series goes really downhill, but this is like a post-apocalyptic or like sort of like a Borderlands type feel to it series, and this is so much fun. It's a YA. The main character is definitely like an anti-heroine. She is just after her brother who's gone missing, and she's just going across this like very like Mad Max, Borderlands, wasteland type area to get him back. So it has like this Western feel to it as well. It is so fun. I love her. I love the imagery around her. I love that she has like a back and forth bantery relationship with the male character. I love everything about it. It's so fun. It's a book I've like forgotten about because I've read it so long ago, but I saw it when I was putting it back on my shelves and I was like, this book is so great. So I highly enjoy this one, and you can totally just read it as a standalone. You don't need to read it as a series. That's what I've chosen to do. Then we have Temeraire by Nomi Novik. This is by no means like completely underrated, but as far as people that review a lot of SFF, I don't feel like people talk about that as much. It is, I think, now a completed series, or it might still be ongoing, but this is the Napoleonic Wars with dragons, and it's written by the same woman who wrote Uprooted, which is definitely very popular here on BookTube, and this is just fun and adorable, and the bonds between like writer and dragon and all this, it's just cute, and the dragons talk, so they're like little like cat dogs, and it's amazing. But I just don't feel like enough people read and recommend it because it's all like, let's do all the grim, dark, epic fantasy, and it's like, but what about this? It's fun and cute. Then, speaking of adult SFF that people need to read, we have The Tiger's Daughter by Kate Arsenal Rivera. This is your call to action at this point, okay? I've been talking about this book since I read it a lot. It's 2 warrior women in love in an Asian-inspired setting, because it's kind of a mix. That's why I say Asian, because it's a kind of fusion of a bunch of different cultures, kind of. So there's like Chinese, Japanese, there's a lot, so that's why I'm saying Asian. I'm not trying to say like all Asians are the same. It's just like a mix. And it's a fantasy world, so it's Asian-inspired with a lot of those things thrown in. Anyway, this is so good. 2 warrior women in love in a fantasy setting. They're like fighting demon armies. It's so good, and this is the story of their love, and most of the chapters are written in almost like a second person, where one of the characters is writing a letter to the other one about their like the story of them. It is amazing. It's so good. There's a lot like building here. Both of the characters are very flawed, almost have like an anti-heroine vibe to them. There's a lot of like fated stuff tied in there, and how they are like fated to be together, and they consider themselves, well, one of them definitely considers them like gods, and it's so good. There's so many themes that I really, really enjoy in here. 2 warrior women in love. Like, what more do you need, guys? Well, how many times do I have to mention this book to you? Go and read it, okay? The next book is coming out soon, I believe over the summer. The second book is coming out. Read it, read it, read it, read it. It's so good. This needs to be way more hype than it is. Like, no one's talking about it. I only have a few people I know that have talked about it. Go read it, it's so good. Then we have Winter Spell by Claire Legrand. Now, this when it first came out had a lot of mixed reviews. I talked about it in my review of the book when I read it. And I think it's because people went into it expecting a like straight up Nutcracker retelling, and it's not. So if you don't really like care or know anything about the Nutcracker or whatever, just go into this as like its own separate thing. I really enjoyed this because I had no kind of like expectations for it. And I think it's definitely underhyped. It's not like a 5-star read for me, but it was a solid like 3.5 to 4. I really enjoy the dynamic between the main character and the female villain. It's really good. It's really good. And I think that this got a lot more flack than it should have. I ended up really enjoying it. And I think if you go into it just as its own thing, there are some problems. I have my review, which I will link on the screen, but if you just kind of go into it and go with the flow, this is highly enjoyable and should get more recognition than it does. Then for contemporary, we have Magnolia by Christy Cook. I always talk about this when I talk about underrated reads, especially contemporaries. This is just a cute, fluffy, southern romance contemporary. If you like movies like Sweet Home Alabama, you'll probably love this. It's full of tropes, like it's supposed to be. It's a fluffy, summer, southern romance, but and just like so fun. And I read this in one sitting. So that is it for some of my favorite underrated reads. Comment below, let me know some books that you feel are underrated here on the booktube, the book community, the online book community. So thank you all for watching, and I'll see all of you guys soon. Bye.